getting this, YouTube? Are you getting this, YouTube?
YouTube.
Are you get 1 sec? I think 1 moment. We might be getting. No. Uh-huh. So that that should make us live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Exalted Scarfs stream. This is Scarfy the Strange, and I am
Yo,
here with my buddy Dave, also known as Exalted Speed, also known as Domino Blue, I think, or is it Exalted Blue?
whatever. I go by many names. We'll go by we'll go by Exalted look, if you just want to go Dave, that's perfectly fine. We can just go Dave. Scarf.
Yeah, I
I
think people know you on Twitter as Exalted Speed, and we're gonna get to that stuff real soon.
look, man, I'm not like the usual Twitter dude, to be fair. I don't really do too many hot takes, to be fair, but I mean I have 966 followers, weirdly enough, at this point.
Well, it's a good thing you're just on Twitter, not on like something like Parlor, considering all the shit that happened with that site.
Dude, I don't trust a social network until like let me put it this way. I'm like I don't even trust TikTok, but then again I have no reason to be on TikTok. I'm not really that person.
Yeah. Ah.
TikTok is just vying for Zoomers or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, it's Vine for Zoomers. I remember a friend of mine kept trying to get me onto TikTok, and it's like, why do I want to? It's a Chinese spying app. It's pretty much just Vine, and every other site is doing that. Even YouTube is doing that to some extent, with their YouTube
Yeah,
Shorts.
well,
Facebook is
like I
doing
said,
that. It's
I'm not a fan
everywhere.
myself.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, and I've been seeing quite a lot of memes going around, anyways. I mean, like the whole Joe Biden, or not, the whole Bernie Sanders meme where he's just sitting angrily, and apparently everyone's putting him everywhere.
yeah, no, it's just been a big running gag for a little while. I like it though. It's funny. Um
Yeah,
put it with
funny stuff's all around. All right, I stalled long enough. Let's start the with one of the things that actually did piss me off earlier this week. Sorry, I don't have the image for it because, well, I never got the chance to save the image. But like, I think there's somewhere over on Twitter where some journalist was said something about, okay, female game characters exist and men start reading about it for some reason, or men just don't want to play as them. And it's like, know any male gamers that don't like playing female characters? Because I don't.
uh it really depends on the game and what's going for. So so like here's the thing. If there's a game where you often can choose your gender, you often want to make yourself in the game. So if you're male, you tend to make more male characters on average. Now that doesn't mean like some people don't like playing as female, and it's not a weird thing if they do. But that's often what people do.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like,
Two,
thing is,
two,
even in games. Oh, all right, you finished. You finished.
two. The Tomb Raider franchise.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go with. Because like, even in games where you have only a female character to play as, most of us guys don't really mind. I mean, we were there for the whole reveal in Metroid where we were playing as a girl this whole time by the end of the game. Eh,
Well, Metroid Prime is bigger in the United States than it is in Japan, for one thing. So even then, I'm just saying, in general, there's not as much as this whole thing that people say men don't want to play as women. Now, Now, I understand men who don't usually play as women because, again, they want to relate to the main character more, so they often tend to choose the male option. Fine. You know,
Alright.
or, they're straight and they want to date the waifus or something. Like, again, I get it.
That was
It's not,
that was
it really
part of the
just depends.
reason why Lara Croft had to be female in the first place. That's why Lara Croft existed. Because some game developer decided, okay, if you're gonna spend the entire game looking at someone's ass, it might as well be a nice ass.
Yeah, that's fair. That was also the reason I was given for my friend who plays female Shepard in Mass Effect.
Yeah, I mean, for crying out
Like,
loud, guys play as women all the time. Has no one in the game journalism industry ever played an MMO?
well, yeah, girl, uh, like, you remember there's a reason why the term "girl" acronym exists. Girl in real life,
Yeah.
you know, like again, it's not an unusual concept as much as people think it is. Hell, I've seen weird people who you sometimes, and this is just like some people who are like weird about it or how they discover stuff. And this is just like how sometimes we put too much psychology. Sometimes it does lead to something, but sometimes like people who play as like other like different genders from what they identify as, like some of them think it's a transgender thing. Or now, weirdly enough, some people sometimes it is an indication, but not like the only indication you should go off on. You know, but
Not to mention, it's like you're playing a role, you're playing a character. Some gamers,
yeah.
contrary to popular belief, do that. I mean, just because I make an Argonian in Skyrim, it doesn't mean I'm a lizard person. No, really, I'm not.
Please,
If I was,
please
I'd work for the government.
look. It's not like a look. It's not like I'm a Japanese high school student who's able to date my teacher.
Yeah, it's some weird shit going on. It's like where everyone just keeps making all these weird assumptions, and I think it's because everyone wants to see themselves in a protagonist. When it's like gamers have been been playing pro- protagonists different from them all the freaking time. I mean, as a horror game fan, I could list you a few horror games that survival horror games where
All
not
right.
only do you play as a female character, but solely a female character. Silent Hill
Uh.
3, the Fatal Frame series,
Uh. Here's the weird
Resident
part
Evil.
about horror.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about horror games, they often.
Uh, sorry, internet buffering for some reason. I think maybe the NSA may be onto me. I don't know. I think it was because I described myself as a lizard person.
Whatever
But
the case.
but yeah, part of the reason for this is that in horror games, I mean, in the early days of horror games, I mean, they were all about disempowering the player and making them feel vulnerable. And part of the psychology behind that was the fact that you were playing as a female character.
It wasn't always the case in every game, but yeah, enough of them. And that's just a general, and that's just one example. One of the reasons Silent Hill actually stood out was that it had a preference for male characters over female ones. Actually,
Well, the whole idea with the Silent Hill games, I think it was actually stated like in one of the gaming magazines during an interview where the whole idea wasn't the fear for yourself, but fear for what happens to another person.
yeah,
And that's why was it James not James well James Sunderland was afraid for like what might happen to his wife, and then there's like Harry Mason who was afraid for what might happen to his daughter. That's why Harry Mason was portrayed as more of as a father figure than any
yeah,
other kind of protagonist.
yeah.
So yeah, even
Like I
then
said,
you
that's
were you're not just afraid for what happens to you, but afraid for what happens to people close to you.
Yeah. Again, that's just one example in horror games general too. But like games have a bunch of different protagonists. It might be like, oh, you can't play as Princess Peach. Well, Peach has her own fucking game at this point. Like it's old now, but she does have it, and that's not even including like all her playable appearances in sports games and or say Smash Bros. I'm
Well,
just saying,
well, people have this whole
like,
theory that games, this whole like pink aisle theory, where like games were actually just something in the blue aisle and it was only meant to appeal for to boys. And I'm just, and I have my own theory on this kind of thing where there really is. I mean, when you think about what's usually in the pink aisle, there's already a kind of pink aisle style games for girls. It's basically
well,
paint software programs.
let me actually talk about this because I think we're getting a little bit here. I'm just gonna talk. What tends to majorly appeal to guys and majorly appeal to females in games is very different.
Yeah,
Um, like,
customization options. You know.
well, not even just customization options, like puzzle games that, like, my mom's a puzzle gamer. I look, you don't know how many match 3 games I've seen her play in my life. As just one example. I never seen her play Hoonie Pops, and I'm never gonna tell her about that game. Anyway,
But yeah, and also the whole idea of the quintessential dollhouse. I'm just thinking, it's like, isn't that what The Sims is?
well, here's the ultimate thing. A lot of the games that females tend to play are mobile games. That's the majority of that sphere of gaming. And,
I
you
can't argue
know,
with that.
uh look, it's been shown, and this isn't to say, oh, it's all females or all men. It's just that there wasn't any big game like mobile for a long. Here's the thing. I have to look if that number has been updated for one reason. Gacha games are now more of a thing, and I'm not sure if that skewed the number in recent years.
Thanks, Genshin Impact.
Not even Genshin Impact. You got Fate Go. So many other games. I even played essentially a gacha game, and I didn't realize it until like I heard about the mechanics. I was like,
Surprise
wait,
mechanics!
yeah, basically. So I'm just saying, in general, it, you have to kind of realize that game, like what appealed to men and what appealed to girls, is just very different, and that's kind of one of the reasons why there is a pink and blue. Well, honestly, the weird thing is that because the pink and blue aisle thing is such a weird phenomenon, but it boils down to actual market testing that has been proven more often than not, unfortunately,
Yeah,
because with 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 female what females tend to prefer in toys versus what men prefer in toys is very different. Like here's actually a weird thing like on action figure. All right, so if you look at my action figure collection or toy collection, you'll notice a couple things are different is most of them are made of hard plastic or die cast. They tend to be solidly built, or you know, they don't tend to have a lot of cloth good and or hair. uh Hair is a very big thing on dolls. Brushable hair, for some reason, like that is just a play thing that girls like, and so if without it, it's kind of like why isn't it there? So again, that's just one example of just differences in toy preferences, and uh, Shira.
yeah.
Uh, I'm not actually going to talk about the old Shira stuff. It's actually very interesting. So the original Shira toy actually, I'm talking about like the '80s original, was tested. Now she has this weird clip thing on her head, and it was supposed to be a mask. Basically, you put it over her head, and it goes over her eyes, so you can't see her face to an extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
The girls didn't like that, so they turned it upside down, so that way you could see her face and still keep it on.
All right.
Again, different preferences. And
Still there? Uh oh.
uh, like, and this is just how some toys work. Like, weirdly enough, you want to know what is popular? What was popular with autistic kids specifically?
What?
Thomas the Tank Engine. Now,
Oh,
you might be wondering why. Well, Thomas is actually for them a good way to gauge emotions because the faces are so exaggerated. It's easier to read emotions on the trains.
ah.
So Thomas was popular with a lot of those types of kids. Again, these are just kind of natural play patterns that develop over time, you know? And this is
Yeah, I
just
could
me
see that.
being, yeah. And like, and here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with this. This is just speaking more of like, okay, this is just what kids tend to prefer. What this does suck is trying to force kids to play with certain toys. Actually, you want to know a funny story? You know,
Mm-hmm.
my mom used to be against me having guns as a kid, toy guns or anything that was like a weapon. And you want to know why she stopped doing that?
Why?
I used my hand like a gun. I did
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah. Oh crap! Am I getting connection issues yet again?
It didn't, but I wasn't like, Mom, I want a gun. You know, I mean, I have friends who are gun nuts.
Yeah,
Like
you learn
my
a
aunt.
lot about gun safety from friends who are gun nuts.
Yeah, basically. Um, I'm also a huge Gundam fan, so I have like a lot of different guns. I know what and I'm just saying, you learn a lot of shit by listening and doing stuff rather
Ugh, I have no
is
idea
the
what's
thing.
wrong with
And
our
that's how I
connection.
look at it. You know?
Yeah, good. I don't know what the hell's going on. It might be my connection issue. You seem to be like dropping in, dropping out. There seems to be like hitches going on here and there. I hope it's not messing up the stream too much. But
Hopefully not.
so far, I mean, we're still able to get most of what you're saying. Oh, god damn it! And as soon as I say that,
We'll continue on. If it's not working, it's not working. You can't really do anything about that.
yeah, I mean, it's too late to restart my computer now, and especially,
Maybe maybe before you do this you have to just restart your computer like a half hour ahead of time.
yeah, maybe stop waking up so late. I mean, this is what happens when I'm a night person. Why the hell does this keep hitching?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
welcome to the Exalted Hitch Scream, guys. Yeah,
The exalted
the Exalted Lag Scream. Yeah, some people are saying that
uh
the stream is
mm,
laggy as fuck.
fucking A.
I mean,
So
jeez. Hopefully, it'll kind of get better. I mean, I'm doing what I can on my end.
if this is just our worst stream, we'll just
We'll just call it a mulligan. I think that somebody saw Twitter on the title, and I guess
sorry. Well,
Twitter
then
might
again, I'm
be
not the one running the system.
Twitter might be pulling some strings because they're afraid we might talk about the thing that's happened recently.
Let's just get to that. Go for it.
I mean, what was it? We got 40 minutes. I mean, sure, we got enough material to talk about. I mean, I still want to say something about the anime being banned in Russia.
Oh yeah. Well, let's actually talk about that then.
Yeah.
Anime being banned in Russia. Fuck Russia.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Russia
Like,
is banning anime for some reason. And they've already banned what,
yeah,
Death Note? I think their argument is that it supports like cruelty and murder and stuff like that. And I think they're blaming like the suicide of one person on I guess Death Note or something.
pure and beautiful country.
Oh, like it's like really, guys. Granted, anime's banned in other places for say different reasons,
Yeah.
but what the hell is like this reminds me of the whole like violence in video games controversy that happened all a while back.
Uh huh. Oh yeah. Nope. This is a whole thing.
Also, which also kind of reminds me of the whole like controversies on heavy metals being tied to Satanism, or was it Dungeons and Dragons being tied to Satanism, or both?
Prison can be for adults. Hide, hide.
I mean, as the minute something gets popular, people start trying to throw it under the bus over something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Basically.
yeah, because I think what's going on is that with anime and manga getting more popular than, say, Western shows and Western comics, somebody out there must be pulling some strings.
Honestly, the big thing about it is that here's the truth. Like right now, a lot of people just don't want to put effort into things, and they don't think that here here's the thing. People want everything to sell on name brand shit. If it's a name, it should just sell. But the truth is, you need quality. You really do.
Yeah,
You can't just sell.
which goes a long way to explain why Resident Evil Village looks nothing like a Resident Evil game, and yet it's still called Resident Evil.
Well, Resident Evil Village looks like a Resident Evil game in my opinion. At least to me, it has the themes. You're
Well,
in a house. You're fighting a weird monster that mutates, like something normal and it mutates. Like
it
that is
looks
Resident.
closer to Resident Evil 7, I think. I mean, okay, so now you got a mansion, but
Well, that's kind of the point.
but yeah, it just doesn't quite. I mean, it doesn't quite have the same feeling as the original games I've played. I mean, it looks kind of like modern style horror games where they do a slow paced
Oh,
first person and then you're getting chased by a monster. Except every now and
there's
then
been
they
some of that.
except every now and
There's
then you
been
have a
some of
pistol.
that. There's been some of that, but there has also been DLC for Resident Evil that does the first person thing, but also makes you a badass guy who's taking down monsters.
Yeah,
So
not to mention Resident Evil Village. It I mean, I know they're still focusing on mutants and stuff, but they're trying hard to make it not look like you're fighting off mutants. It really makes it look like you're fighting off supernatural monsters. I mean, I think ever since Resident Evil what 4,
yeah,
they kept trying to make things look a little bit more like gothic horror instead of the
yeah.
classic like mutated zombie horror, which they
Well,
have
they're
been known
trying.
for.
Well, to be fair, the last game 7 used hillbilly horror,
Yeah,
Southern goth.
Hillbilly
I'm just,
horror. It's
well,
it's
yeah.
it's Texas
I mean,
Chainsaw Resident Evil.
what are you expecting? What did you expect me to say? Like, it's hillbilly horror. To be fair, you know.
I'm just
I'm
saying
just
it's
saying.
like I'm just saying it's like okay, it's obvious you guys are just using the Resident Evil title as just a name brand recognition, but you obviously want to try something else. I mean, it's the same with the Assassin's Creed series. I'm for crying out loud. It's like, do you even do assassinations anymore? After playing as a pirate, a what's it, a Spartan, and now a Viking
Yeah, no, like
and a Cockney.
honestly, I think they should have ended the Assassin's Creed franchise and just started a new thing. Maybe in the style of it, but like, okay, here's the thing. You want to know what Watch Dogs is to me to an extent?
What is it?
Assassin's Creed, but the modern day.
Oh yeah. Well,
Let's
they're
be
gonna
honest
eventually
here.
go there. Eventually, I'm calling it now.
There's gonna be like a crossover game where it reveals that like they're in the same universe.
They're gonna be like they're gonna be like modern day like Agent 47 Assassin's Creed.
I'm just saying, man. Um, there is, there has been, what I'll say, actual like changes with Assassin's Creed overall as a franchise, but like the problem is with the newer stuff is that it's very tenuous with the older stuff, and I don't know why they have the modern day segments. If okay, you want to know what the modern day segments are now for? Honestly,
What are they for?
they're there to explain why they're being historically inaccurate. Like, I'm not even kidding. They'll note in game when something is not actually historically accurate and just done because reasons. And
Yeah.
that's just the truth of it. Like, that's really it nowadays. And like, that's just that's really sad in my opinion. Like, oh well, we can't, we don't want to be historically accurate, and it's like, okay, then make your own fucking setting. Do that then, you know? If you're not gonna do, if you're not, like, I get it to an extent, is what I'm saying, but like, you don't want to be historically accurate in game famous for historical accuracy, and like, come on, just do
Yeah, make
something
a
fun.
completely different game where you're tripping on mushrooms to go through portals.
Yeah, like, in all seriousness, the Assassin's Creed franchise is a franchise I think is not really needed anymore, and I really don't see, I don't see what it does that makes it stand out anymore. And the Viking stuff, honestly, like, one of the big problems with the Viking stuff is that, here's the truth of the matter with Viking history is, dark. If you're gonna make a Viking protagonist and you want it to be like accurate to actual history, you can't just make them a good guy. They would have to be like a dark hero at best, or a tragic hero. You can't just be like, yeah, the English fucked us up, and it's like, look, I like, they really want this like heroic Viking narrative against like
Technically,
the English.
technically they invaded the English, so
Yeah, they're the colonizers.
yeah. The one-time colonizers are portrayed as good guys.
Fuck the English. They're the colonizers, not like we. It's one of those things where I get it to an extent, but it's like, oh look, you need better historical grounding.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's just like this. Like a lot of these people, they don't want to put effort into this stuff. They just want to sell on name brand recognition. I mean, that's kind of what happened to Star Wars as well. Oh yeah, here's this
But
like
Star Wars, but Star Wars.
yeah, Star Wars. I think it's like somewhere I heard a quote. It's like some kind of hot take where it's like someone in Lucasfilm said that Star Wars fan sucks. It's really Star Wars consumers they want.
Oh yeah,
So
dude.
so they just want us living in the they live universe.
Well, the problem is with what they were trying to sell with Star Wars is that a lot of the people who took over Star Wars aren't actually don't like. Here's the truth of the matter: Star Wars is one of the biggest franchises, and it has a huge fan base. And that's just the truth. You couldn't ask for it, and you screwed it up. All you had to do was just play to the fans, and you get money. Because guess what? Star Wars. Here's the problem with Disney to an extent, with this whole thing, and I don't think people talk about it enough. When often companies acquire a new property, they they try to pretend what didn't happen before, or there's no legacy to it, or like it's an upcoming property, like it's theirs now. But Star Wars is such a big part of pop culture. Like, dude, there's the Family Guy parodies, the Robot Chicken parodies. Star Wars changed the toy industry. For
It
God's sake.
it was a cultural icon. I mean, there was so much
Like,
merchandising behind it. People made conventions based off of it. I mean, that thing and Star Trek.
like, look, here's the truth. Like, I've known enough people to be like, yeah, I've read the Thrawn books. When you can talk about obscure material and have a good chance of people knowing it, well, okay, it's not obscure material, but, you know, non movie material, and people can have like a good chance of knowing about it. People know what a Y Wing is. People know who IG-88 is. People know this shit. And I'm not saying Star Wars is shit, guys. I'm just saying we know who Bosk is. We have a name for the lizard guy who appears in one scene.
Oh, dude, we have a name for a lot of those guys in that scene. But
We
yeah,
have a history for Bosk. We have a boss fight. I'm just saying, Star Wars is a huge franchise that lasted a long time. And I'm not even a huge Star Wars fan. I have a couple figures here and there. I would be like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, an X-wing. I love the X-wing.
but yes,
Hell,
they ran it right into the ground, and when people find something newer and better, I mean, they just do stuff like this and go like, okay, you're not allowed to buy this because it's problematic. It's like that's generally what I see happening, where it's like there's something out there that's better than what the establishment, like corporate creators, can create, and they're finding excuses to ban it because they don't want to put in enough effort to actually be better than the alternative.
well, yeah, because that would mean like we actually have to do shit. But you get, but like I said, that's just the whole thing. And one of the big problems with Star Wars to an extent too is this that like they really wanted to make these new characters sell, but they thought by shitting on. Because let me put it this way: they played to critics of Star Wars rather than fans of Star Wars. I feel
Yeah,
when they did Last Jedi,
yeah,
because it's like because I Last Jedi to me as a movie was what if Cracked wrote a Star Wars movie and yeah,
yeah.
it was fucking horrifying.
I mean, it's kind of like I think the problem with a lot of movies, games, and comics that are being made right now is that too many of the writers are focusing more on the message than the actual like entertainment value or even the story value. Where it's kind of like the Bible games that when Angry Video Game Nerd reviewed that stuff. I mean, if you want to understand why people are pissed off at politics in their games, just watch Angry Video Game Nerd's review of Bible games and then just imagine that for every game. That's kind of what it's like right now.
Yeah, no, that's really we're living in a weird time, man.
But
You
yeah,
know.
yeah, I think I found the passage. Like this year a teen fell out a window dressed as a Death Note protagonist, Light Yagame. Now, spoilers here for a well, relative. No, actually not. It's relatively recent but relatively old anime. That's not really how he dies. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Did he die that way in the manga?
What? How does he? What are you talking about? How he dies?
Some teen cosplaying as Light Yagame just fell out of a window or jumped out of a window.
Uh, yeah, no, he doesn't die like that in the.
It's-
He dies by, if we're going off different adaptations, like the most common way he tends to die is that he is confronted by the police. He makes a grandiose speech about being God, and they shoot him to death.
well, that's as you do with false gods.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, unless the
After
teen,
everything's been revealed, after he did
unless the
like
teen
unless
like wrote his name on his own Death Note, I don't think Death Note is to blame for that.
uh, I doubt. I actually don't think Death Note has very. I think Death Note has very. Okay, if you're suicidal, a series often has very little to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, oh, come on. Dude.
Like, I'm of that opinion that if you do see like a fucking if you ever do like I like honestly like this is probably look they're looking for something easy to blame and it's like oh fuck anime yeah that's to blame and there's no easy answer that's just like oh we should learn from this because the answer is obvious you should talk to your
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
you
If
should,
your
you should
kid is
get them.
suicidal, there's probably a lot more going on than what he's consuming right now.
Yeah, like Death Note wouldn't cause by itself a suicide, in my opinion,
Yeah,
because Death Note is never about suicide. It's about mind games. It's about trickery. But then again, the thing's called Death Note. It's about writing names and killing people. So it's like it's evil, evil. And so now it's just it is what it is. It's evil. But
I'm
yeah, no,
yeah, I'm more of an old school anime fan. But if there's one thing I like about modern anime is that they'll take a single simple concept and stretch it out to its very limits. I mean, it is the ultimate like they make the ultimate elevator pitch shows. It's like a notebook that you can use to kill people. And they just
yeah.
explored every possible story angle that can happen in.
Yeah, basically. Uh,
All right.
no, it's a whole thing.
In all right, it's 9:40. Time for the big one.
All right, let's do it.
Now, did Twitter refuse to remove child porn? The truth
Yeah.
behind the Twitter is over party trend as Florida teen sues the platform. Oh boy.
Well, this is actually a good chance to talk about it. Twitter's
Yeah,
fucked up, yo.
yeah, it's a fucked up situation, and yeah, and if it's uncomfortable to listen to, I get it. But
Um,
it's just one of those. Eh, it's one of those things
Look,
that seems to be happening with like big social media sites now.
well, the truth is that a lot of these sites don't want to be held accountable for, illegal shit. And that's fair to an extent. The users are often the cause of some of this shit,
Well,
but
thanks to section 230, I mean, they won't be held accountable for what their users post. Oh wait.
yeah, yeah. But the fact is, if they're not doing anything about child porn, then they really should. Something should be done. I'm sorry. Like, the fact is this: uh, if you know this is a thing, why aren't you banning it? It's illegal by United States law.
Let's see,
Sorry, you fucked up.
yeah, this is their response. If you believe there's potential copyright infringement, please start a new report. If the content is hosted by a third party website, you'll need to contact that website support team to report it. Your safety is the most important thing, and if you believe there is a danger, we encourage you to contact local authorities. Well, I guess he did. But I think it's like somewhere along the lines, like I think maybe before that or even after that, they stated that they didn't see anything illegal. Look, Twitter, it's easy. Just pretend that the child trafficker was inciting violence. There you go. You found that easy enough to ban.
Yeah, basically, you know.
Oh yeah,
So
remember a while ago it was like I kind of wanted to talk about the whole like banks going after Pornhub thing, and then we kind of just forgot about it.
yeah,
Now I have to
yeah.
wonder, why are the banks not going after Twitter over this? This is what they accuse Pornhub of doing.
Because Twitter, let me put it this way: sometimes, like when these sites tend to not get hit on as much because, well, they're used. Pornhub has porn in its name, so it's the obvious target.
Yeah, they went with the low-hanging fruit. But they're not going to go
So
after Twitter over this kind of stuff.
yeah, like I use Twitter myself, but I use it because I get the most interaction on it for my stuff and content. Like, if I could use another platform, I would. I just developed a following on Twitter.
But yeah, basically this is what's happening. It's like uh, the teenager and a sex trafficker allegedly exchanged nude photos before the latter started blackmailing the boy that if he did not provide more sexual content, the images and videos will be shared with the parents, coach, pastor, closely others closely related to him. I think what had happened is that the boy was catfished.
Yeah,
He thought he was sending, I guess, dick pics to say a hot girl he met online, and turns out the hot girl was just an underage sex trafficker who was just using his
yeah,
nudes. Like,
yeah. Basically,
and yeah, that's the other thing. It's like you need to educate your kids in terms of the dangers of the internet because stuff like this happens, and it's been happening for quite a while now. And young kids, they're highly impressionable. Their minds aren't fully developed yet. They don't really look out for this kind of stuff.
yeah,
Um, how this even happens in online gaming. I don't like to talk too much about it because then people are gonna start censoring games yet again over fears of like child predators. But you know what? The predators will go where the kids are.
yeah. Like, Look, it's to an extent true. Like, hell, I'm surprised TikTok isn't involved in a huge thing at this point, but I
Give it
imagine that will
time.
happen.
Give it
I imagine it will
time.
happen any day at this point. Sadly enough, I hate saying that. I'm gonna go somewhere and feel bad about myself.
Uh,
We're a depressing bunch this week, aren't we?
yeah, I mean that's why I named this. Yeah, have a seat, Twitter, because right now I'm playing as Chris Hansen. Looking into this, it's like really. So you don't see any problems with, say, a sex trafficker like blackmailing a child into sending him more
Honestly,
nudes.
honestly, you're more effective Chris Hansen than Chris Hansen is this week.
Yeah, probably because I'd be wearing the very intimidating trench coat, hat, and scarf, looking down on
Fun,
these guys intently.
dude. He had a chance to really dig in on Onision, but my god, his fucking documentary just blows. Oh well, it is what it is, I guess. Okay. Fuck Onision and fuck what's
Hell,
and
I
fuck
pro- it sounds like I did a better job at messing at taking down Anision just by doing a short video edit of Moana just shoving a coconut into his head.
that's fair.
It's like, oh jeez, what do you mean you don't see a problem? We both are minors, and right now we're minors. At the time these videos were taken, we both are 13-year-olds of age, replied John Doe. It's like, yeah. And now there's a hashtag Twitter is over party going on.
Yeah,
Of all the things you failed to censor there, Twitter, of all the things you failed to censor,
yeah. Basically, it
uh,
was a whole thing.
and
But yeah,
and
that
here's the
is
other issue: is like, they, I mean, they've encouraged like lobbyists and governments to go after, and even like banks to go after other social media sites, startup social media sites like 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 Minds or Gabs or Parlor. I mean, keep in mind, I have no real loyalty to most of those. Quite frankly, I see like Parlor and Gab as just a right wing cesspit at this point. And
Mhm.
yet, and they often cite that okay, they're platforming like hate speech, or they're platforming underage pornography, which is usually just lolicon anyways. Not nearly as bad as this shit. I mean, this also reminds me of the issue that happened with 8chan a good long while back with foldable human. Remember that?
Yeah.
Because yeah, what foldable human tried to do is that he tried to get 8chan deplatform, or trying to smear 8chan, saying that it was hosting child pornography by doing an article on it uh, with with pictures, which pretty much meant that he would have either had to say have uploaded the incriminating pictures himself, or he took screenshots of those pictures, meaning that he by making that article he pretty much admitted to having potentially underage material on his hard drive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's let's just say that these cancel culture nuts aren't really all that smart all the time. And thing is that a lot of these sites, they don't, especially when there are startups, they don't really have those advanced AI or algorithms that'll scan every post imaginable for any illicit material. They actually have to rely on users to report this stuff. So if it's not reported, it ends up it stays up. And I can guarantee you, there's probably loads of people who saw what was on Twitter and tried to report it.
Yeah, no, people have tried to do this shit, man. And well, things happen. And sometimes they're successful. A lot of times they aren't.
Yeah, and
I have
a lot of these like
I'll say
high standards that everyone's trying to impose on big media and big tech. I mean, it's the kind of things that startups can't really afford.
I'll say this, like
Meanwhile, meanwhile, sites like Twitter, they can afford to like go comb over everyone's tweets with an AI, and yet somehow it still misses shit like this.
yeah, nope, it's a thing. But it's it just blows,
It does.
honestly. But that's kind of Twitter for you. It's the game we play right now, and hopefully this will get like Twitter to actually start paying attention to this shit. But I doubt it.
I mean, I know they're currently being sued right now, but by the victims of this issue, but I feel like they're not gonna get any kind of consequence for this due to the fact that okay, they're major corporations, they could just lawyer up and pad this out until it's like until the lawsuit just runs out of money. Not to mention they they're one of the big boys now. They got they got lobbyists, they got paid off senators and congressmen. I mean, we've seen those Senate hearings. Every time they try to hold them to task, something comes up and they just don't really do anything about them.
Yep.
So yeah, and yeah, and how much you want to bet is like at the same time they're still gotta keep accusing other websites of doing the same shit and getting those websites taken down just to make themselves like the sole platform on the internet.
Well, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Right now, I right now though, we'll have to see the future and how everything turns out. But we will leave on a high note here because I hate being depressed with little shit sometimes
All
because
right, you
me.
got something to high on?
Well, there's a new trailer for a Gundam thing.
Really?
Yeah. They're working on the next installment in the UC Gundam timeline. Now, for people who don't know about the UC Gundam timeline, I'm not going to explain it.
All right,
Okay, I mean,
can you link me to
I'm
that?
joking. I'm kind of joking here, but I'll sum it up. Uh, I sure. So Hathaway's Flash is well, it's called Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. So I'll give me 1 second. Well, I'll link the trailer to you. Do
Is it
do
like a
do.
video trailer?
Yeah,
All right, I'll probably mute it then, just to avoid copyright people.
that's fair. I understand, but it's the next installment in the Gundam UC timeline, and basically, it's about a group called MAFD who are working against the Federation, who are now after the events of Shar's counterattack, the Federation's feeling high and mighty, and so they're basically fucking over its citizens. So MAFD, a terrorist organization, starts to fight against them,
僕はの
stealing an experimental prototype Gundam. The son of Federation leader Captain Bright Noah decides to defect to MAFD and become its leader, starting a revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Hathaway in a nutshell. Now, I'm looking forward to this because, as Mike can comment, I'm a huge Gundam whore.
Yeah,
I'm willing, I'm willing to admit this, and I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait to build the Kasi Gundam or the Z Gundam. It's a weird name. It's basically spelled XI, but
animation
it's
looks
pronounced.
good.
Yeah, nope. It looks amazing. I cannot wait to see it. You know,
Yeah.
but we will have to see in the future. But I hope it's a good. I hope it's good. It's adapting a Gundam novel, which is very different than the usual.
All right.
But yeah, so good time, good time. But yeah, that's I can't wait, and I can't wait to build the model kit.
All right.